Pick up your copy today of our Football Game Plan Scouting 2020 Prospect Guide. Over 650 prospect scouting reports detailed from position value, strengths, areas of improvements, some comparisons, as well as the games that we watched to break these guys down. Order your copy today at footballgameplan.com/2020 draft guide. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/Go-Go Offense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/Go-Go Offense. Welcome to Football Game Plan. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and as we roll toward the 2020 NFL Draft, I thought it would be cool to present a mock draft, but a different mock draft, something that we don't normally see around the national draft landscape. We're going to do a small college mock draft, only of the first round, from 1 to 32, as well as some teams that don't have first round picks, and we'll start this mock draft off by taking a look at the mock draft rules. The Cincinnati Bengals kick off the draft with the selection of quarterback Kenji Bahar out of Monmouth. He has left the school as the all-time passing leader. He has excellent football IQ, throws with the touch, timing, anticipation, and accuracy that you look for, and showed growth each and every season on the Jersey Shore. Bahar ran a 4.73 during his pro day and is an underrated athlete both in and out of the pocket. Aaron Patrick out of Eastern Kentucky is a quick twitch edge rusher that shows very good point of attack fundamentals. He doesn't take long to find out who is the alpha dog out there on defense for the Colonels, as he shows up early and often throughout the course of a ball game. Detroit gets help in the secondary with Prince Smith Jr. out of New Hampshire. He's a man-to-man defender extraordinaire with excellent ball skills, and once he gets his hands on the football, he knows exactly what to do with it, as he has 6 pick sixes in his career. The Giants bolstered their pass rush with Chris Livings out of McNeese State. I thought he was one of the more underrated rushers at the FCS level. Now, this past January at the College Gridiron Showcase, he showed his ability or capability as an off-the-ball linebacker after having spent his career with the Cowboys as a 4-3 defensive end. The Dolphins find their quarterback of the future in Kevin Davidson out of Princeton. Don't look at his 1 year of starting experience as a knock. Instead, look at it as a player that has a ton of upside left in his game. Davidson has very good accuracy on the move. He's a terrific athlete and is coming off a really good week of work at the East-West Shrine Bowl. Getting help along the offensive line is a priority for the Los Angeles Chargers, and Ben Barch from Division III's St. John's will provide just that. He played tackle for the Johnnies, but showed at the Senior Bowl that he's more than capable to hold his own inside as a guard at the NFL level. Staying up front for the Panthers' first-round pick with offensive tackle Alex Taylor out of South Carolina State, who stands a legit 6'8" and has the long arms to thrive at the position. It's not that he just has long arms, but he has the quickness to get them up and quickly onto a rushing defender. The Cardinals continue to get better around quarterback Kyler Murray with the addition of Carter O'Donnell out of Alberta. Now, he got better every day down at the East-West Shrine Bowl this past January, so much so he went from being okay to dominant by week's end. He's also one of the top offensive line prospects in the 2020 CFL Draft. Jacksonville looks to replenish their secondary, and they look toward the local product in Florida Tech's Tyrone Cromwell to do the job, who also started his career at Clarion before transferring down to the Panthers. Cromwell does a really good job in press coverage, above average in that regard, and has good overall proficiency in man coverage. Kyle Duggar out of Lenoir-Rhyne is a versatile defender who's able to play both safety spots as well as a nickel linebacker or as an overhang defender as well. Down at the Reese's Senior Bowl, I became impressed with his ability in man coverage versus tight ends. Isaiah Coulter out of Rhode Island plays a lot like AJ Green in the sense that he's a long, lean, and athletic wideout who tracks and attacks the football very well. He's got the perfect makeup to be a split end at the pro level and is coming off of an excellent week in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. With their first of 2 first-round picks, I went with linebacker Jonas Griffith out of Indiana State. I think he can play all 3 linebacker spots. He has a great deal of upside as he only played 1 year of high school football before going on to become an all-conference performer with the Sycamores. He was the talk of Fort Worth, Texas, down at the 2020 College Gridiron Showcase. It's hard not to like the ball skills and instincts of Isaiah Swan of Dartmouth. In 2018, he won the Ivy League Player of the Year award and was able to parlay a great week at the College Gridiron Showcase into a stellar week at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where he also stood out among some of the top across the country. I think he would be an ideal fit in San Francisco. Armed with Tom Brady at quarterback, the Buccaneers bolstered their backfield with running back James Robinson out of Illinois State. Now, Robinson has excellent acceleration to be a chunk yardage gainer as a pro. He was the offense at Illinois State and still put up monster numbers regardless. The Broncos get more explosive on the perimeter with Morgan State's Menashe Bailey. This guy came into Morgan State as a linebacker and transformed himself into a bona fide game breaker at the position, who also plays on every special teams unit. He also has a couple of block kicks on his resume as well. Atlanta goes defensive line here with Nasir Player out of East Tennessee State. I thought he had solid change direction skills on tape and plays with the length that you expect to see from a 6'5" defensive end to play with. He is good on both ends of defense, in my opinion. Luther Kirk out of Illinois State is an excellent prospect as a combo safety, meaning he can play as an overhang defender. You can trust him at either safety spot, but you can also trust him in man coverage as well. He was one of the standouts during the week down at the Shrine Bowl, picking off a pass in the actual game. He would help the Cowboys out in a big way on the back end as he can turn the ball over. The Miami Dolphins now add explosive speed to the backfield with Pete Guerriero out of Monmouth. A former track sprinter at Monmouth, Guerriero was equally as sensational on the gridiron, coming up 5 yards short of a 2,000-yard season this past year. He was a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, which is the FCS equivalent to the Heisman Trophy. The Raiders get even better on the outside with Aaron Parker out of Rhode Island. He's a reliable target that shows no fear at any level of the field. Also, he's great in contested catch situations. I love the aggressiveness in which he attacks the ball when it's in the air. It's his ball and no one else's. Jacksonville doubles down in the secondary with Christian Angulo out of Hampton. He's a tall corner that has very good fluidity in transition. He's a player who's confident in his skill set and can be trusted on an island with the team's best receiver. Philly gets receiver help in Kyle Anthony out of Howard. He was arguably the best on tape with hand-eye coordination in the draft class at the position. He's a very comfortable player in catching the football away from his body and does a great job in playing well without the ball. Another talented and tall wideout heading to Minnesota with Southern's Hunter registered. He's explosive and shows great athleticism out there on the field. Register's game reminds me a lot of Martavis Bryant, who played with both the Steelers and the Raiders. New England lands Canada's Ryson John out of Simon Fraser. John was a receiver for Simon Fraser, but would more than likely transition into a flex tight end as a pro. He's very similar to Jimmy Graham in how he plays the position. He may even be a bit more fluid at this juncture of his career. Manny Patterson out of Maine is a talented corner who's got the mirror and match skills that you want to see out of the position. I think he's got great fluidity to transition well out of his back pedal and shows good acceleration to drive on the ball and make a play. Bobby Price out of Norfolk State is a tremendous football player and athlete. He participates in the long jump on the Spartans track and field squad in the spring, and he's a good blitzer, showing the versatility to serve as a nickel linebacker if need be. He was a constant terror to offenses in the MEAC. With their third first-round pick, the Miami Dolphins get better at safety with Jeremy Chinn out of Southern Illinois. Now, Chinn had a really strong week at the recent Senior Bowl, also showing the ability to match up versus tight ends. I thought his zone work was impressive down there as well. Rondell Carter started his career at Rutgers before transferring to James Madison, where he went on to become a stud rusher for the Dukes. I think he can continue to play with his hand on the ground as he's got good fundamental and game at the point of attack. Royce C. was a star linebacker at Sam Houston State, but will transition to strong safety as a pro. He's very similar to Matt Elam in how he attacks downhill versus the run. At the College Gridiron Showcase, he showed that he wasn't awkward in space and could be trusted in man coverage versus both backs and tight ends. Tennessee gets help on the perimeter with cornerback Reed Harrison Ducros out of Duquesne. You want to talk about an explosive player that has short area burst skills, and RHD is one of the best in the FCS. His feet never stop moving, and he always finds himself in position or in the hip pocket of the receiver. Ernest Edwards out of Maine was their version of Anthony Carter, who starred for the Minnesota Vikings in the 80s and early 90s. He's a very good route runner and is explosive after the catch. A more contemporary comparison will be that of Randall Cobb, and fittingly, he would give the Packers that type of playmaking ability on the inside. With their second first-round pick, I added receiver help for San Francisco with Shane Zylstra out of Minnesota State. I thought he got better every season for the Mavericks, and if you check out that Division II National Championship game against West Florida, you'll see a guy that competes hard each and every down. Rounding out the first round with the Kansas City Chiefs and cornerback Tymeer Berry, I like his leadership ability out there on the field, and his game is nothing to sneeze at as well. Berry excels in both man and zone coverage, press and off coverage, making him both scheme diverse and a good fit in any defense. Moving into the second round with the Indianapolis Colts, who get a quarterback to groom behind Phillip Rivers and Roland Rivers III out of Slippery Rock. Now, Rivers is coming off of a sensational career that saw him have success at both Valdosta State and Slippery Rock, culminating in him winning the Harlan Hill Trophy this season, which is the Division II equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. He's got the deep ball accuracy to thrive at the pro level with the mobility to make it an 11-on-11 game. Now, the Houston Texans obviously need to bolster their receiving core, and adding Southeast Missouri State's Christian Wilkerson would go a long way in helping them do just that. Stylistically, he plays the same aggressive game as DeAndre Hopkins and is coming off of a stellar week at the College Gridiron Showcase. Chicago needs to find a new quarterback to develop and groom, and Hampton's DeAndre Francois would be the ideal candidate for that. He has good passing in the intermediate area of the field and is one of the toughest quarterbacks you'll find. It'll be interesting to see where he goes as this process plays out, as I thought he played well this season for the Pirates. The Pittsburgh Steelers find the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger and D'Angelo Fulford out of Mount Union. He's got the dual threat game that fits the modern NFL and is coming off of a record-breaking career with the Raiders. Fulford isn't being talked about enough, in my opinion, in this draft class. The Rams get help along the offensive line with Dieter Eastland out of Yale. He was an all-Ivy League performer at tackle this past season, but will seamlessly make the move inside to guard where, in my opinion, he will continue to thrive. And finally, in round 3, the Buffalo Bills get the perfect running mate for Devin Singletary and A.J. Hines out of Duquesne. Hines was uber productive for the Dukes, winning the Jerry Rice Award, which is given to the top freshman in the FCS, while also showcasing the ability as both a runner and a receiver out of the backfield. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL Small College Mock Draft. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. Don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find on iTunes, and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can also find all of our Scout Team podcast prospect interviews, and check out and order your copy of Football Game Plan's 2020 NFL Draft Guide. You can find that on our website at footballgameplan.com/2020 Draft Guide.